friends, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Stacy and I am the Chapter Conundrum, and apparently today we're being joined by my pup Ozzy. Hey buddy, are you gonna snuggle with us? Are you gonna snuggle? Oh, you want belly rubs? Okay, we'll try and give you some belly rubs. Oh, and we have Noelle here too. I didn't even notice her butt's in frame. Anyway, we're here to talk about superior audiobook experiences. So if you're picking these books up physically and you are an audiobook reader who enjoys a good audiobook, I think you may be making a mistake and doing it wrong. We're gonna start with ones that I think are kind of less egregious and work towards the ones that are the most egregious, that are like, you really should pick this up on audio. But before we get going, there is one series that I consistently hear this about, but that I just haven't read yet, so I can't attest to that. I will mention that here. It is Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I believe that this is narrated by Jeff Hayes. And this is one I'm going to be picking up the first book in this month, finally, April, but I just haven't got there yet. I have had several people say it's a superior audio experience though. Moving on to the books I have actually read on audio that I think are superior audio experiences. First, we gotta talk about Green Rider, and this is a series narrated by Ellen Archer. And the first time I read this first book, Green Rider, I did read it physically, and then I read the second book physically as well, but then I tried the third book on audio and I was like, wow, I've kind of been missing out. So I am excited now that I'm rereading the series to do the whole thing on audio. And I definitely appreciated the way that Ellen Archer did her character voices and accents. I thought it was perfect for the characters, and there was just something about her narration that made me want to fly through and binge book 3. And it considerably added to my enjoyment of the series. So definitely I would recommend Green Rider on audio if you want to read that one. Next up, in more of a contemporary space, Julia Whalen, who narrates several Taylor Jenkins Reid books, and also I will say Daisy Jones and the Six, which is a full cast narration. I don't know if she's part of it or not, I can't remember. But that one is also superior on audio. But even her ones that are a singular narrator, Julia Whalen does a fantastic job with, and I'm holding up After I Do because that is my favorite of her books, which I know may be a bit of a hot take. But yeah, there is something about the way she puts emotion into Taylor Jenkins Reid's character voices that I really appreciate. And I think she definitely takes the stories to the next level. Next up, I want to talk about Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby, and honestly, probably any S.A. Cosby, but this is the main one I have read that I have loved. And I unfortunately had to kind of eyeball read this. If you saw my December vlog where I did a bookish gift box experience, I had swapped boxes with my sister and we prepared them for each other, and I prepared Razor Blade Tears for her. So because of that, I had to physically read in order to find like the page numbers of where she needed to open like her gifts that were associated with things in the text. But I did at parts of this tune into the audiobook, and man, I wish I had been able to do the audiobook for the whole thing because Adam Lazar-White did a fantastic job with this, and definitely I am keen to pick up the rest of his books on audio when I try them out. Next up, we've got to talk about Sherry LaPena's books, narrated by January Lavoie. She is a fantastic thriller narrator, and if you get the chance and you see one of the thrillers you're interested in is narrated by her, I would highly recommend the audio. There's only one exception I have found so far, and that is Sherry LaPena's newest book, What Have You Done? And the reason I don't recommend that one on audio is because there's a choice made in the audiobook that kind of hints at something bigger that I wish I hadn't known, and that I probably wouldn't have known if I had just read it physically. But it was nothing against January Lavoie's narration. It was just a different kind of choice made for the audiobook that gave something away for me personally. But otherwise, any Sherry LaPena book or any thriller that January Lavoie narrates, I highly recommend on audio. She is a fantastic narrator, and pretty much if I see she's narrating something, I'm always keen to pick it up on audio. Another thriller I really enjoyed that she narrates is The Chain by Adrienne McKinty, and I'm sure there have been so many more that I have read that she has done as well. But definitely Sherry LaPena books and The Chain stick out in my brain associated with her. Next up, I want to talk about Simon Vance narrating the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. He does an excellent job with this series, and I really appreciated the way he narrated both action scenes and character voices, for sure. There's also just something about his accent that I really enjoyed listening to those. And yeah, definitely if you're picking up Lightbringer, I would highly recommend the audio. Another narrator that completely nails the protagonist's intonation and character voice is Davina Porter with the Outlander books. And also she does have the perfect accent for this too. And one of the things I love about her narration the most is that she sounds a lot like the actress who plays Claire in the TV show as well. So if you have watched Outlander on Netflix, then going to the audiobook isn't a jarring experience for you because they sound very similar. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they based Claire's actress off of Davina Porter's voice a little bit, and if she kind of listened to the audiobook and took inspiration from that in terms of how to characterize Claire, because it is very seamless. And I also think that Claire is one of the fantasy protagonists that is very multifaceted and very nuanced. And so I appreciate her being able to nail the narration of her even more so for that reason. So I think that first section was more like books that are, in my opinion, superior on audio. This next section is going to be ones that pretty much everyone that I've talked to about has agreed that these are superior audio experiences. And the first one of those is going to be a full cast narration of the Themis Files trilogy, starting with Sleeping Giants, and this is written by Sylvain Neuvel. I normally don't go for full cast audiobooks as much because I do find it a little bit jarring to have to adjust my audio speed based on the narrator who is speaking. And also in that situation, I often find that there's like one that I don't prefer as much as the others, which can be frustrating. But this particular series is told in interview format, and having the full cast narration really adds to the experience of it. This is fast paced as it is, but including the audiobook in this definitely takes it a step further and adds a lot of enjoyment to the series. So this is one, if you're interested in, definitely try the audio. Next up, we've got to talk about my all-time favorite Stephen King book to date, and that is Dolores Claiborne. And this is narrated by, I think, Frances Sternhagen, if I have that correct. But she definitely does an excellent job of finding Dolores's character voice and just nailing the humorous tones of the book. Also, this is a book that has no chapters physically, so if you do pick this up on audio, the audiobook does kind of break it up a little bit into sections, and so the audiobook allows for stopping points, whereas the physical book does not. So not only is the narrator of this fantastic and she voices Dolores excellently, but it also adds kind of another element of being able to bookmark your place and take a break instead of having to read this all in one sitting without the experience of kind of having to stop in the middle of something. Switching tack back to sci-fi, another sci-fi series that I think is much superior on audio is the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio, and this is narrated by Samuel Rukin. And this is the kind of series where like the narrator becomes the voice of the main character for me. Like, Samuel Rukin is Hadrian, and you can't convince me otherwise at this point. He nails that narration. Like, it is great. And if you've read Sun Eater, especially like the first several books, they are mostly focused on Hadrian. They don't focus a whole lot on the side characters. And so when you have an experience like that, where the narrator just completely like in your brain is the main character and the books focus so much on the main character, it makes for a perfect audio experience. So definitely if you are picking up Sun Eater, and I know this is one that a lot of people are going to be picking up because the newest book, and I think even the final one, releases in November, definitely give this a whirl on audio if you're an audiobook reader. Speaking of narrators that just really nail the main character and like they are that character in my brain, James Marsters narrating Harry Dresden. Oh my goodness. At this point, he is Harry in my brain. In the Dresden Files, there definitely are side characters, but you're mostly seeing everything through Harry's eyes anyways. And so that makes the audio experience that much more special. I also think he just nails so many different aspects of the series. He nails the tension-filled moments very well. He nails the humor very well, especially things like with Bob in the early books that I can remember. The Dresden Files is one that has a lot of different moments like in a tonal kind of sense, and he just nails it all. At this point, I am caught up on the series. I'm like 18 novels, a novella, and 2 short story collections deep. I will always read these on audio now. Like, there's no going back. James Marsters does an amazing job narrating the Dresden Files. Next up, we're going to talk about a book that I made the mistake of picking up physically, and I thought it was okay, but then when I reread it on audio, the narrator just injected so much life and humor and just nailed it for me so well that my reread ended up being a 5-star experience. And that is The Lies of Locke Lamora, narrated by Michael Page. So yeah, the first time I read this, I think it was like a 3-star. I think I just didn't fully appreciate Scott Lynch's humor, and Michael Page really brought that out when he narrated the book. I think there are also subtle changes within Locke's character too, because this is in multiple timelines. And I think Michael Page really put thought and effort into how he could portray those differences. And yeah, he just nailed it. If my experience with this book doesn't tell you enough, then like, I don't know what's going to convince you. Next up, we're going to talk about one of my very first audiobooks that has stuck with me even to this day, and that is Wil Wheaton narrating Ready Player One. He is like the perfect amount of nerdy to narrate that book with all of its content, and he has this way of just injecting tension into the story with his voice that is kind of unparalleled. Like, I have never been more invested in an action scene than when Wil Wheaton is narrating it. I thought his voice was also just really well suited to Wade Watt's character. And there's also just something about his accent and his voice that's so distinct and unique that just adds a special touch to this audiobook. And also, I do know that he narrates The Martian by Andy Weir, which sadly I read physically before I knew that. But yeah, from my experience, I've listened to Ready Player One, and I would definitely recommend, if you're going to pick it up, to do the audio. But also, I would probably say do The Martian on audio too, if you're going to pick that up. Before we get to my number one audio experience narrator, I do have to talk about Ray Porter narrating Project Hail Mary. And this is one that is extra special. Not only does he do an excellent job of narrating the book, but there is an element in this book that translates a lot better to audio than it does on the page. And that's pretty much all I can tell you or explain without spoilers. So just trust me when I say the audio of this is a superior experience for many reasons. And Ray Porter is certainly one of them as well. I was actually a little bit sad when I found out that this was coming out and it wasn't going to be Wil Wheaton since he had narrated The Martian. But once I listened to this, oh my goodness, did I regret feeling that way, because Ray Porter does an amazing job. So for a book to add another layer in audio than it does in the text, and for a narrator to initially disappoint me only to blow me away, this definitely holds a special place for superior audio experiences. And then my number one audiobook narrator of all time is Tim Gerard Reynolds, if you didn't know. And he, of course, does several series I love, but my all-time favorite, Red Rising, I love the way that he narrates this book. I think his accent is just perfect for this series. It is not very often that I enjoy male narrators doing female character voices, but Tim Gerard Reynolds is one of the exceptions to that rule, because I still love his narration no matter what character he's doing. And he definitely has a lot of talent. I have also read like Legends of the First Empire, all 6 books in that series, the Rhaenyra Chronicles. I think he narrates all of Michael J. Sullivan's books. And I've also done the first book in the Red Queen's War series by Mark Lawrence. He also narrates that. Pretty much anytime I see that he is the narrator for a series or a book, I am like definitely making sure that I'm picking that up on audio, because the man is just unparalleled in my brain in terms of narration. So that was it for my list of books that are superior audio experiences. Let me know down below in the comments, what did I miss? What books or series do you think belong on this list? What do I need to pick up on audio that I have not picked up yet? Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out if you want to, and have a great day. Bye.